So I'm going to see the Rolling Stones this May 31st, FedEx Field, the Redskins Stadium. Can anyone guess how much my ticket cost? That's where my seat is, this dot you see. It's 1972.
$150.
$180.
I spent $530 on my ticket. And I did these dog-ass seats up into the news. So, but it should be pretty good. So they started in 1962. They wanted to be blues missionaries, they were blues purists. They wanted to bring black American blues music to England and spread it to people who were not aware of it and didn't appreciate it. And the Beatles were doing similar stuff at around the same time, but the Rolling Stones were more pure in their intent for the blues, and they're just doing a slightly different thing. They were all friends though. The Beatles became famous first, and the way Keith Richards put it, this guy, it was, this is them when they first started. That the Beatles opened up the door to America, and that the Stones came up and kicked it in after them. This is Keith Richards, the rhythm guitar player, Mick Jagger, lead guitar player, Bill Wyman, bass, Charlie Watts, drums, Brian Jones, lead guitar. Brian Jones, who's a genius, 135 IQ, he's a virtuoso. He's also a helpless drug addict. By the end of his time with the Rolling Stones, they kicked him out of his band for missing gigs, not contributing. Within a month of being fired, he drowned in his own swimming pool. They made 9 albums in 6 years with Brian Jones. It's pretty impressive. Second, they added this guy in 1969, Mick Taylor. He's 19 years old when they added him. They were about 28, 30, 35. He gave the band a more classical and elegant style to the lead guitar, and also some funk influence. He played with some funk bands previously. Mick and Keith also started producing all their own music in the late 60s, which really enhanced and refined the sound of their music. Keith really started to get into heroin in the early 70s, and in 1974, Mick Taylor left. They made 5 albums in 5 years. They added the next guitar player, Ronnie Wood, in 1975. He was one of Keith's good buddies, and he was a perfect fit for the Stones. In the 60s, Ron was actually a huge fan of Rolling Stones and swore one day he would be in the Stones. Eventually he was. Keith really started to get into heroin, and it culminated in 1978 when he got busted in Toronto for having like 15, 20 pounds of heroin, and he was facing 20 years to life. And they didn't know if the Stones were going to go on anymore, and he only had to pay $1 million and play a free benefit concert for the blind, and he got off scot-free. Other than that, they put out an album right after that. It's an album called Some Girls. Very successful album commercially, financially, and also the tour was very successful. In the 80s, they started off huge. They put out a bunch of albums. In the middle of it, they started fighting, Mick and Keith. They both went solo. They reunited in 1989, put out another album. And then from 1990 to present, they've put out less albums, but continually toured. And they're still cool. Keith still smokes. And if you're not familiar with them, I would say you should check them out.